Hello and welcome to New England Cuisine, the program that celebrates the food and flavors of New England. I'm Chef Chris Prosperi from Metro Beast Restaurant in Simsbury, Connecticut. Nothing tastes better or is easier to make than a one-pot dish. And in New England, we have some of the best. Today, I'm here with our guest, Lisa Griffith, from the famed Oxon Hill Farm in East Granby and Suffield, Connecticut. Lisa's going to show us some wonderful produce from the farm, and then I'm going to make a chicken coq au vin, and then she's going to finish up with a Oxon Hill sweet potato chili. All right, Lisa, let's get started with some of the vegetables you brought from the farm.
Great, thank
All
you.
right, so what do we have?
We have a variety of our fall and winter produce here.
Okay.
We've got, all of it is USDA certified organic. We've been growing organically since 2009. The family farm has been on the same property since 1647, and so we're actually the 11th generation that's operating the farm right now, which is pretty special.
You told me that story earlier, that you're part of the family, right, actually came over with a land grant, right? So tell us a little about that.
Absolutely. There was Sergeant John Griffin, I believe, in 1647 was given a grant from the King of England to produce pitch pine on a pine plantation in land that is now part of Simsbury, Granby, West Suffield, and East Granby. And so over the 11 generations, there's been many different branches of the family, but my husband's family has been farming on the property that we're growing on now since 1647. So we're
original settlers, right?
Yeah, it's
going back to the beginning of the country, and what it must have been like in that area back then.
It's hard to imagine.
Right?
It's hard to imagine. My family, I'm married into the Griffin family. My family came over in 1948.
Yeah, so
we're a little bit different. But so now my kids are Griffins growing up on Griffin Road, and it's a pretty special heritage to be able to share with them, especially keeping the farm together.
All right, so tell us about what you're growing this year.
Yes,
right?
So this is just a sampling of some of the things that we have. We grow pretty much year-round. People ask what we do in the winter, but there's really not much of a break. So what we have here, we have a acorn squash, and then we have a carnival squash.
All right, so let's stop here because this one always gets me confused because this one looks like this one, and some people even tell me it's an acorn squash, but it's not, right?
No, it's actually a hybrid. It's a cross between an acorn squash and a sweet dumpling squash. And so it has a little bit sweeter taste to it and a little bit finer texture. So some people like those a little bit more than the acorn, but they still have the neat cross section if you want to do something like.
And it's perfect for two. That's
Absolutely.
what I always say. You cut it in half, you bake it, and it's perfect for two people.
Terrific
All right, go ahead.
that way.
What else we got?
We have purple top white turnips.
All right, now these cellar, right? So
they
going
do.
back
Absolutely.
to your family history,
Absolutely.
there must have been root cellars,
Absolutely.
right? And this was more of a matter of making it through the winter alive,
Survival.
right? So it wasn't about, oh, look, the beautiful
love a turnip.
Yeah,
Right.
I love a turnip. It was, once March hit,
Right.
all we had left in the cellar was turnips.
Turnips.
So this goes back to the beginning of the country growing things like this, right?
Absolutely, and another New England tradition too is the Hubbard squash,
All right, let's see the
another
Hubbard squash.
vegetable that keeps nearly till through the apocalypse. This is a very small version of
I
Hubbard
was saying
squash.
that earlier. This is actually the first blue Hubbard squash I think I've ever had that I can actually toss up in the air, because I've gotten some this year that were 25, 30 pounds. They're like,
I left them at home. I didn't want to overwhelm the countertop here today.
But this is great for soups, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And those store for a really long time too, and they actually get better with age. They get sweeter, and they have a nice fine texture to them
All right,
too.
before we go there, I want to go over here because this is exciting.
Yes,
So
it
what
is
this?
exciting. These are our very own organic potatoes that we grow right here in Connecticut, and we have them bagged up, and you can find them in many places now, including Whole Foods.
How cool is that?
It's pretty
So
exciting.
you can actually go to a grocery store and find, right? You must be proud to bring the kids in and say, look,
We
those
are super
our
excited.
potatoes.
They were excited in helping do the design.
Right?
And
So you got to see that. So if you see that in the grocery store, right, you need to make sure, right, those are the ones, right?
Those are the ones. Those are the ones with the kids. Absolutely.
And organic, and they're
Absolutely.
Right,
I mean, you can get our potatoes through our CSA program. We love to have our folks come to the farm, and then they also come to West Hartford and Longmeadow, Massachusetts, and East Granby. So we have our produce available for people in those areas as well. But if you don't want to be a part of a program for an 18-week commitment or things like that, you can certainly get those in other places. Yes, absolutely. So another fall favorite.
Wait, lettuce.
I know.
How's that?
Well, lettuce is actually a lot more cold hardy than you think when it's growing. Right. If you put it in your refrigerator and you let it get too cold, it will turn to mush. But it'll actually tolerate light frost.
I always say it tastes better too.
It gets sweeter. It gets sweeter. It's something with the plant metabolism that it goes into trying to bring up the sugars. So there's
spinach is the same way, right? It grows great in the winter. I mean, look at this. I mean, think about it. It frosted last night, right?
I know. All the brassicas, they actually improve with a little bit of frost. Now, they can't take, below zero for many weeks on end.
So basically, how long do we go with lettuce?
Well, we have covers for some of it, and we can grow some of it under little tunnels. So we will do through December or so. And then if you have tunnels and high tunnels and heated things like that, you can grow it all through the year, which is nice. Connecticut is really growing in a lot of different ways now, with a lot of farmers trying new techniques, being able to extend their season both with things growing longer and starting things earlier. There's all sorts of different ways to
and that's great. I mean, thinking about getting, right, getting lettuce and spinach and
so
stuff
much better
in
local than
February through these tunnels and stuff, right? And you see them. I've seen them actually. It's a great picture where you see you're driving down the road and you actually see them covered in snow, and the farmers are knocking the snow off it, and you're like, oh my god.
Done that. Yep.
Yeah, and this is just so we can have local stuff like this.
Absolutely, and it beats bringing it from California.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, keep moving.
So we have butternut squash that are propping up the basket of our rest of our stuff, so I'm not going to mess with those. Another fall favorite. Carrots are something that both stores through the winter. Anything that has greens on it will improve its storage capacity when you cut the greens off, because once you take the plant out of the ground, the roots will start losing their sugars to the greens. The greens want to still be fed and they want to keep growing. So if you separate them, they'll store a lot longer. So carrots will make it a long ways through the winter in storage as well. We also have some purple potatoes, because why not?
Let me have one of those. I love these.
Aren't those fun?
These are the best. I'm going to just grab a knife and
You can freak out kids with these too.
Because they're so cool when you cut them in half, and they're actually, right, can you see that? You can actually get a purple potato, and these make great mashed potatoes too.
They do.
Right? I love making mashed potatoes because you get that kind of purple color in the
and
potatoes.
even if you just smash them in there too, which is nice, and kids always love that one too. And of course, we also grow traditional, like Yukon Gold kind of potatoes and red skin potatoes as well.
So do you do winter? Like, do you store this? How do you, I guess the question is not do you, but how do you store this
That's
stuff?
a great question.
I mean, do you have a cellar, or is it
We have a big barn that we invested in putting up last year, and we got it up through the summer, and so now we have a lot of our produce, our potatoes and our sweet potatoes and the root vegetables in a big walk-in cooler, which actually, in order to have the sweet potatoes store longer, we had to turn it into a sweat box for a while. We had to cure the sweet potatoes, so we had it heated up to 90 degrees, and so their sweet potatoes will stay for a long time in that way as well. So
that's exciting.
We're going to cook with those in a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we're going to make the chili with.
Yes.
All right, so there's a sort of, a whole summary of Oxon Hill Farm.
Yes.
We love the local farms in this area, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to go for a little bit, and when we come back, I'm going to make that chicken coq au vin. Be right back.
The research here at St. Jude is very important. It gave my daughter a second chance at life.
We're developing tomorrow's cures today so that everyone around the world can benefit from those therapies.
La parte de investigación en el hospital es fundamental, porque si no hubiera eso, no habría ese porcentaje tan alto de supervivencia que dan.
Treatments invented at St. Jude have helped push the overall childhood cancer survival rate from 20% to more than 80% since it opened 50 years ago. And we won't stop until no child dies from cancer.
We are not just publishing a paper, but we're making changes to patient care.
Because we have donors that believe in what we're doing, we can really move our research forward much faster.
One life saved at St. Jude means thousands elsewhere.
Because of you. Gracias a ti.
Because of you.
There is St. Jude.
Dad, we need to talk. If you're not gonna listen to me, who will you listen to?
Jeffrey!
Is that Marcia Gay Harden?
I think so.
You're getting older.
Not that old.
Your brain is changing.
That's what I was saying.
Honey, I've got experience with this. Jeffrey, brain health is all about making the most of your brain as you age.
Really?
Whoa! Where did she go?
Learn what you can do to help keep your brain healthy at brainhealth.gov.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
Across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, helping solve child hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back to New England Cuisine. I'm Chris Prosperi, and as I said, we're going to make some chicken coq au vin, and you can see I started by searing some chicken thighs. These are boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and you get these in any grocery store. They're one of the most versatile parts of the chicken to use, and in this coq au vin, I love using them. So again, I just took a little salt and pepper, I floured them lightly, and I got a little oil in my pan, and basically just seared them till they got nice and brown on both sides, just about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. They're not fully cooked, but they're like 3/4 of the way cooked. Then I still have my oil in the pan. I'm going to add a 10-ounce box of mushrooms that I've quartered. And that goes in the pan while it's nice and hot, because what you want to do is get these mushrooms seared. Oh, lost one. That's okay. All right, so we get that going. Now, coq au vin is basically a red wine chicken dish that we make with mushrooms. I like putting in a little bacon and some onions, and it's usually made with a cock, which is basically an old rooster. And cooking it in red wine sort of takes that strong flavor of the old chicken out. Nowadays we use any chicken for it, and the wine isn't as important as it used to be to sort of make the subtle flavors of that strong, or make the strong flavor of the chicken more subtle. All right, so we're sauteing our mushrooms. Then we're going to add about 4 strips of bacon that I've diced. Now, bacon's not a necessary ingredient in this recipe. Well, I shouldn't say that. Bacon is a necessary, but if you don't eat bacon, it's okay to leave it out. It does add a little smoky flavor that I like to add in all my stews. Now, chicken coq au vin, if you don't know, is a French dish. And for people who know me know that my father is actually from Paris, and he is a pastry chef. Growing up, my mom was the chef in the house, actually made all our food, and Dad did all the desserts, except for 2 dishes. One was chicken and beans with rice that he learned from an uncle in Cuba, and the other dish was chicken coq au vin. So this was basically the only dish, savory dish, my father would make for us. So it has a long history in my house. All right, so we get the bacon, onions, or the bacon and the mushrooms going. Then we add a cup of chopped onions to that. And you can see we're just going to stir that to mix it all in. You want to get it to the point where the bacon is soft, right? It's not all the way crispy, because that's not what we're looking. We're looking for it to sort of melt into the dish. And our mushrooms to get light brown and our onions to get light brown. So that takes about 8 to 10 minutes. Then we're going to take our chicken and we're going to put it back in the pot. And you can see I'm sort of nestling it in there, right? In between the mushrooms and the onions and the bacon. And then we're going to add 2 cups of red wine. So basically the red wine is almost like the broth. Now, in the old days when this was made with the old chickens, you would use a lot more wine. But now, since we're using regular chicken, what we're going to do is use wine. We're going to cook this down for maybe 3 to 5 minutes just till it starts simmering, and then we're going to add some chicken broth. And I like to add the chicken broth till it just covers. And that just about there. And you can use whatever chicken broth you have. There's so many good canned chicken broths now. I mean, we always say try to make your own, but I don't know. Nowadays, there's so many good quality canned chicken broths or in the Permalot boxes that it's not necessary. All right, we're going to put the lid on it. Then we're going to cook that for about 45 minutes on a low simmer. If you have a pot that can go into the oven, then you can actually take that in the oven for 45 minutes at like 325 degrees and get it, braised nicely. And then this is the one we made earlier. And I don't know if you can see in there.